The next assembly is going to be the gable end assembly. Now in the background you'll see that our verticals have been extended up. Again, that takes care of the hinge effect we talked to earlier. The gable will come pre-built, as you can see here, except this rafter, this is an end rafter, may not be applied. And it may not because of packaging. So if it's not applied, it's a very simple matter to slide it into place. It'll all be set up. Then we'll just screw the top of it, and that will be set up. When we put that up there, you see it's a rafter tail extension for the gable end. So right now we're going to have the guy set this gable. This happens to be on the other side, but we'll set this gable behind me and you'll see how it fits up there. These gables are all pre-built for you, no cutting, you just stack them into place. In this segment we're going to put the gable end up, but we want to foam the top plate. Again, we talked earlier about wood on wood contact, so because we have two frames contacting each other, we want to put a piece of foam in there. That's called a thermal break. So we're going to put that in first, then we'll lay this number 1 gable part up there. This number is actually a 1L, 1L for the left side. Whenever in doubt, either foam or caulk, then you'll always have a very tight building. Now this is a 3-man project. We have a man on the inside and these 2 guys on the outside will lift this up into place. So this one's a little bit awkward, but light enough that it's not going to be dangerous to handle. The inside man, once they get it there, is just going to stabilize it until they can staple it. Now this will nest right into the part above the window in this particular case. Plywood will go in behind the other. Okay, these are designed to fit a little snug. Now what Al's going to do, he's got it in, now he's got to tap it over tight to the vertical. Probably use a block or something to do that. Unless you can tap the plywood and make it go. So this is a difficult construction project on the job if you have to cut all of these at these specific angles. So that panel is now placed. When we get down off the ladders, Chris, our inside man, is holding that into place. Al will take the stapler and walk up the ladder and tack that off to our pre-cut gable end up above George there. If you can see it, we'll show that to you. Those are all pre-cut. You'll notice that the vertical gable end portions, these portions here, are cut 1.5 inches short. The reason for that is above there gets another top plate. So we've accounted for that. So this panel, this side is done very, very quickly. Again, these gable panels are very, very detailed when you have to cut them on site. So we got them all pre-cut for you. Okay, now we're ready for the center panel. Now we'll just move the ladder over with the hoses out of the way. We'll put a little piece of sill sealer up there. When you have a building that's an odd number of bays wide, when I say odd number, this is a 3-bay building. But when you got, say, a 3, a 5, a 7, or a 9-bay building, you'll have a piece like this that's what we call a pentagon piece that goes in the center of that. So in this building, it's a good example. If our buildings are even numbered in bays wide, 2, 4, 6, 8, then these panels up here will fit tight at the top. If you have a wider building, there may be intermediate sized panels between. Again, we aren't making these so high that you can't handle them. And when you get into a wider building, you're up off the ground a lot more. What helps you a little bit is the loft kit that will show this a little later gives you kind of a work platform, or some scaffolding on the inside or outside might be a safe way to set these panels. Again, we're trying to keep everything under 60 or 70 pounds so 2 people can handle it. So we're ready to set the center panel. We're going to put a top plate in there first. Your kit will come with top plates that go between on the gable end. Those will be segmented top plates, roughly 41 inches long. This happens to be around 24 inches because, again, this is showing you how we can customize this building. Actually, this building is 10 feet wide. So we have a 2-foot panel between, 2 4-foot panels on either side. So we're going to get the top plate in there, and then we'll foam it. The top plate will always flush out at the corners here. They'll flush out with the verticals and so forth, because you got to leave room for the plywood to go in there. Again, in your written instructions, that'll show that. Now we'll put a little short piece of foam in there. We don't foam between the two top plates. We're not worried about foaming that. That'll get tight enough on its own. Plus that, we got Tyvek and a lot of other things that are going to protect that potential seam. But we do Tyvek between panels. So George will staple that in. Then Alfred's going to grab this panel and hand it to George, and then he'll go up the other side of the ladder and set this one in place. Again, what makes this simple is we already have the vertical members going all the way to the top of the gable. That helps it stabilize. And these you put on before we start the roof area, because these help secure our roof rafters from flopping around later, and we'll show that to you in that particular phase. This one gets a little bit tight because our tolerances are so close, so we'll kind of cattywampus that in. Now if George just hits that with his hip, it'll go right in. And then it'll go up and then drop into the slots. Again, in our written instructions, it'll show more detail of how that nests into each other. Now it's dropping right down into place, maybe a little nudge from the top, and it'll be exactly where it's supposed to. Now in larger buildings, wider buildings, we do put a piece of flashing between these, the gable end and the top panel of our log panels. The instructions will show you that, but very often we'll put a piece of flashing in there because the sheeting rain that's coming from one direction, it wants to hit that gable and it'll cascade down. So if I got a piece of flashing there, again, it gets my drip line out beyond the bottom logs. So we don't do it in smaller buildings because we have a lot less surface area to catch that rain. So we're going to finish up the other panel in this section, and then we'll be back and show you how the rafters go up. If you have any further questions, contact us at the information listed.